I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lucy Mercier, and I'm the director of our Master of Social Work program at Saginaw Valley State University. We have a couple of other faculty from the program with us today, as well as a staff member from the field education office. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves so you can see and hear them. I don't know what your screen looks like with the screen share on it, but if they unmute, I think they come up to the top. So I'm going to mute and I'm going to give it to Denise, and then Denise is going to pass it to someone else.
Hi, I'm Denise Dedman, and I teach in the MSW program kind of across the board with all kinds of things. And so, Haresh, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Thanks, Denise, and welcome you all for this wonderful meeting. And I'm Haresh. I teach research, policy, what else? Practice class, yes. So it is fun teaching here and working with students, and I believe the faculty members are really encouraging for me as a faculty member and also for students. So this is a great place for me, and I believe you would also have that similar experience. Thank you. Mark.
Thanks, Haresh. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Giesler. I too teach a little bit of everything in the program. I think you'll find that's true, and that you'll also find that that's a strength of our program, that we teach across the curriculum. Mainly, I focus on theory classes, but also do some practice and research stuff as well. Glad to be here and glad that you are interested in our program. Back to, let's see, Lucy, or is there another person? Sorry, I don't know who the staff member is.
So I'm going to ask Brianna to introduce herself as a representative of the field office too. So, Bree?
Hi, I'm Brianna Reed. I am the field education assistant for the field office for the department. I also recently just graduated from the MSW program this past May. So I'll be talking about that tonight as well.
Thank you so much. So Hannah Long is with us as well, and I'm going to have her introduce herself. She's not from the MSW program, but she represents the graduate office. So.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Hannah Long, and I work in graduate admissions. So I will kind of be your application liaison. So if you have any questions about, where the application's at, how to get started, questions about your supplemental documents or any of your references, I will be your person. I'm also going to share a form in our chat box that has just a Google form, a quick question. First name, last name, email, and then your phone number. That'll help us make sure that you're getting important updates. We'll text you or email you. And we'll also, so the application will go live on Monday, but we'll have a couple other resources on our website as well to make it a little bit easier to make sure that you feel comfortable when you're filling out the application. And I'll also share my contact information in there so that you have my email if you have any questions about the application. I'll put the grad email in there for you. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Hannah. So if you guys go in, if you go into the chat function now, will they be able to do that right now?
They should, yeah, they should be able to do it right now. I got a form in there.
Excellent. Okay. So I really want to encourage you to do that so that we can, for one thing, we have a couple of documents. I want to make sure that you get them because we're doing this virtually. I don't have paper handouts for you. And so I want to make sure that you get those documents. Is it true? I don't teach in the undergraduate program anymore, so I don't recognize you guys. Is it true that you're all current undergraduate social work students at SVSU? Few of you have cameras and I can see your nodding head. So I'm hopeful that that's the case. If you're not, that's okay. But I kind of like to know my audience here. So what I'm going to do tonight is go through a PowerPoint, which I'm screen sharing with you. The faculty and staff can chime in whenever you like. The PowerPoint isn't very lengthy, but it does cover sort of basic information about the program and how to apply. And then generally at these meetings, we have a fairly extensive question and answer session. So as I'm going through the PowerPoint, you might want to jot down questions that you have, and if I don't answer those questions by the end of that presentation, then we're just going to have a conversation about the program and try to help you understand sort of what we do, what the degree does, how you get there, what the application process is like, and so on. So I'm just going to go ahead and proceed with the PowerPoint at this point. And then we'll have questions at the end. So our Master of Social Work degree is the advanced degree. We used to call it a terminal degree, which always sounded like bad news in social work. So the advanced degree in social work allows your practice to be independent. So an undergraduate degree in social work allows you to work as a social worker with a license in an agency setting. MSWs with the accredited MSW degree can be licensed for independent practice. Our program is focused on things that will sound familiar to you. Interprofessional education, so it's part of the mission of the College of Health and Human Services. Diversity, competence, empowerment, research-informed practice, social justice, and a couple of things that are particular to the master's program, what we call high impact learning or immersion learning. And what that means is that in normal times, not pandemic times, we spent quite a lot of time outside of the classroom engaging with agencies and populations to impart the curriculum in ways that are not lecture and group work and assignments like that, but to actually engage you out in the community. The program itself was developed after a survey of agencies in the Tri-City area. When we asked them what they would like an MSW prepared staff member to look like, what they said to us is, we need staff who could do direct services work, clinical work, and also are ready to be program directors, supervisors, agency or unit directors, executive directors, sit on boards. They're looking for MSWs that are leaders. Our region has many more MSW jobs than applicants. So we developed this program to fit that need in the community as part of our part of giving back to the region. So what that means for us is that we developed a master's in social work specialization of advanced generalist social work. So every accredited MSW program has to offer at least one specialization. And if you are looking at MSW programs, you'll see commonly they might have a clinical program or a macro program, or they might have specializations in things like children and families or gerontology or something like that. Our program is advanced generalist. That's the specialization. It's the only specialization we offer. And what it means for you is that the curriculum requires students to complete coursework in both micro practice and macro practice. So every student who graduates from our program is prepared to take both clinical exam for licensure in Michigan and the macro exam for licensure in Michigan. We are just now doing test preparation course with our alumni, and most of them are taking the clinical exam, but but they could and maybe will also take the macro exam and be licensed in both areas. So in addition to the core social work courses, all students in our program have 6 credits of electives, and those electives are both micro and macro. So if you were really, really loving macro practice, you could do the Advanced Generalist Core and take 6 credits of macro electives and be really prepared to be a macro level social worker. And if you really, really loved clinical work, you could do the Advanced Generalist Core, take 6 credits of advanced micro, and have a pretty strong foundation in clinical social work. Or you can do what most of the students end up doing, which is to take some of each. And those, we can answer questions about those electives later, but just so you know, that's the focus of the program. Does anybody want to say anything more about the Advanced Generalist focus? I always feel like it's trying to describe water to somebody. I know what it is.
It's really a true practice of social work. It's being prepared to deal with people and their personal problems and how society impacts those personal problems as well. I think that's really the truest form of social work. I'm a believer.
Well, yeah, and I am too. And I think that I graduated from a clinical program and I worked as a therapist in my practice career. And what I wished that I had more training in was supervision, management, program development, and that leadership, because very shortly after I got my first MSW job, I was being asked to do those things in an agency where even the new social worker was expected to be able to manage those responsibilities. So, and that's why I'm a believer, because I think it makes you better prepared to be a clinician, frankly.
If I could add to that, Lucy, I've been struck too about how much it is important to have that focus as just a clinician, whether it be just the system that you're talking about in your agency or the community in which you live. You cannot do individual work if you don't have the larger context. And in this program, every course really emphasizes that and gives you assignments to show how the two are linked. So we're very, very unique in that respect.
Okay, so thank you guys. I'm moving to 2 options. So there's a regular MSW program and there is an advanced standing MSW program option. And each of those options has a track that's either fast or slow. The advanced standing MSW is either a 1-year program or a 2-year program. Same number of courses, just spread out further. And the regular MSW program is either a 2-year program or a 3-year program. Again, same courses, they're just spread out differently. I have included the cost of the program calculated based on 2019 tuition at SVSU, and the totals that are on this slide include fees and stuff like that, graduate credit, tuition. There's a difference in the number of credits for the 2 program options. And the reason there's a difference, it's the same degree when you graduate, that both diplomas say Master of Social Work. The regular MSW program is intended for people who do not have a Bachelor of Social Work, or they have a Bachelor of Social Work that's more than 5 years old, or their GPA doesn't meet the admissions requirements for the advanced standing program, even if they have a Bachelor of Social Work. So Those students take a generalist core, the first part of their program, and then move to the advanced curriculum. Advanced standing has fewer credits, 19 fewer credits, because those students do a quick little bridge between BSW and MSW and then move to the advanced curriculum right away. So if you're graduating with the BSW, you may apply to either of these program options. And I'm going to talk more about those options in detail in just a minute. So hold on to your questions about that. Both options, the application period opens on Monday, October 12th. I assume it opens sometime early in the morning, Hannah, is that right? Okay, so Monday it will be open, and we're accepting applications through November 28th. In addition, when you submit an application, you also have to get things like references and turn in your written statement and well, you guys will all have transcripts already at SVSU, so you don't have to request transcripts, but all of those supporting documents have to be to us by December 12th, 2020, to be clear, this year, and so that we can process those applications. So that is those are deadlines for you. I would strongly encourage you to do the application at the beginning of that application period so that we have time to get your references. So you have to have 3 references, and we need for them to respond to us by December 12th. And it takes an amazing amount of time for busy people to respond to those requests for references. So I'm encouraging you guys to think about how to get that application filled out, and don't wait until November 28th to do that, okay?
Yeah, because if somebody like spaces out and doesn't do your reference and you have to get somebody else, you don't want that to be happening on December 11th and then miss the deadline.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk a little bit about, there's all kinds of these really cool automatic reminders that go to you that tell you that, you know, something's missing, or, you know, update you all the time. And Hannah will be able to talk a little bit more about that later, but you will know, you will get information about the process and progress of your application once you have clicked the submit button. So, but there are several things to do in that application in order to have it be completed so that we can evaluate it for admission. We will be making decisions by, I'm being very generous here with our time, by the end of February. We do start processing applications as soon as they're complete, and some admissions decisions will be made prior to that date, but we will have everything decided by February 28th. If you are applying or get accepted to the regular MSW program, classes start in summer. If you apply to the advanced standing MSW, classes start in spring semester, literally 2 days after you graduate with your BSW. There is no rest in there. Okay, let me move along. So it says, see handouts for course flow. That's the thing that I haven't been able, I can't hand you a handout. There are documents that show the curriculum for each program option in its entirety, and also summarize the admissions criteria, which I'm going to go over with you in just one moment. But there is a standard curriculum. We're cohort based, which means that if you enter this spring in the advanced standing program, you proceed with that group of students all taking the same classes through the year until you graduate. So you don't like look at the catalog and say, I'm going to take policy and research this semester and practice next semester and field the next semester. there is there are bunch of co-requisites each semester, and you have to take them in order. So it's a cohort-based program that you have options, and those are called electives. There are 2 credit electives you can select throughout the program, but the rest of it is dictated to you. So you take the courses that you have to take in the order that we say you have to take them. On Fridays, core classes meet on Fridays. Yay, no Fridays. They literally meet all day. So starting at 8:30 in the morning and ending at about 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday. We have electives generally scheduled on Saturdays or occasionally on a weeknight in the evening. Many electives include some sort of immersion experience. So that has been things like study abroad or visiting agencies or doing a project in the community. That kind of goes along with our high impact learning philosophy. You're all familiar with field education. In the MSW program, field is 16 hours a week. And most of our field placements, but not all of them, are during regular business hours, Monday through Friday. So we do have some field placements in emergency services or crisis services that have evening hours, but as with your undergraduate field placements, most of them are during the week. Most MSW field students are doing 2 8-hour days a week. And most agencies are in our general region, although Bree could probably talk about this. In the last year, because of COVID, we have greatly expanded the number of field placements outside of the Tri-City area, the Great Lakes Bay region. So we have field placements from what the field office likes to call Canada. So way, way, way east in the thumb. Up north, lots of field placements up north, and down through Wayne County and Jackson and the Grand Rapids area even. We have field placements all over the state for MSW students. And so that's that. You guys know about field placement. We can answer more questions about that. I've added, this is the new bullet point, workload is substantial this year because it is. We used to say our program track options had full-time and part-time tracks, and then I thought we can't say that anymore. Even the part-time students are often taking full-time course load. So if you're an advanced standing student and you chose to do this in 2 years instead of 1, many of those semesters you would have a full-time graduate course load. It's just that the 1-year students have like almost double a full-time course load. In order to get you through in a year, you have a lot of credits. You have graduate level coursework that moves very quickly, and you have field placement 2 days a week. So you're in class all day Friday, and you're generally in field placement 2 other days. Nearly all of our current students work. Many of them have families that they take care of. It's pretty substantial. On the other hand, almost everybody who wants to graduates from our program. So our graduation rate is really good. But I am sympathetic to the fact that it's very rigorous and it moves very quickly, particularly in the advanced standing program.
And we're not unique in that.
Yeah.
So it's not like we are meaner and heaping on more work than other places. When we were designing the MSW program, I went through and looked at the regular program requirements across the United States. And all the regular programs were 60 hours or more, and we're 59. All of the advanced standing programs were 30 plus. And so it's not that we are requiring stuff and we're not requiring more hours of field than other programs, because that's set by our accrediting agency, the CSWE. So every program has a real similar number of hours per week that people do in field, because they have to achieve that many hours in the program. So as you're deciding where to go, we're being honest that the workload is substantial, and other programs that have a 1 or 2 year MSW have the same number of credits and the same number of field hours, because if they're accredited, that's what you do.
I do think you're all in a BSW program now. I do think that there's some similarities. In some ways you're being trained for the MSW workload, but it's different too. It's not exactly the same. The work is more independent. The coursework is more independent, and there's a research project that lasts 2 semesters that is group-based and requires a lot of work outside of class. Brianna is smiling and nodding her head. Remember that, Bree? So there are some differences in the curriculum, and you have a sympathetic faculty in our program, but we still have to get you through it in order to get the degree and prepare you for licensure. So it's pretty substantial. Okay, here we go. Field. So field education is still our signature pedagogy, which means that it's the most important set of courses that we offer. Regular MSWs have to do a total of 960 hours of field placement over 2 academic years. So regular MSW students do 2 field placements. 1 advanced placement, which is very similar to the advanced standing MSW placement, but also prior to that, a 1-year placement in an agency. That's 240 hours a semester. You know, you're familiar with field placement. Advanced standing MSWs do a single field placement for a total of 600 hours, 1 agency-based placement over 3 semesters, 120 hours in the summer, and then 240 hours in the fall and 240 hours in the winter. So the summer semester is the one that starts in July, and it's 16 hours a week for those 6 weeks. The field office uses the same model that you are familiar with from being a BSW student. They arrange approved placements, and you interview and find the match of your dreams. And they do all the vetting to make sure that it meets the accreditation criteria for field education. We can answer questions about that as well. I really struggled with this slide. In a normal year, I would begin to talk to you about our signature immersion experiences. So we did virtual trips this year. So we have a 3-day immersion activity. We call it the Chicago trip because generally our cohort of beginning advanced standing students all gets on the train. We go to Chicago. We all stay together. Faculty and students all stay together in a youth hostel, which is really, really nice. And we visit Hull House and we learn about birth of social work. We learn about ethics for advanced practice, social work, cultural competence. And we repeat that trip again with our regular MSW cohort in July when it's really, really hot, but we still have so much fun. We eat pizza and learn about different agencies, and it's just really fun. We did a virtual immersion this year, which I thought went really, really well. It was fun. We spent 3 whole days together on Zoom, and we tried to replicate that trip without anybody getting infected with the deadly virus. And we were successful on both counts. I do not know, because I can't predict the future, what that will look like in the coming year. We're hopeful that it will be safe to travel very soon. But we offer some sort of 3-day immersion for everybody when they start the program. We also do a 3-day immersion and agency. I never quite know what we call it, the Detroit trip, because we typically take students to Detroit for 3 days. Again, with the faculty, we all stay together. We do agency visits and tours and learn about agency mission and organization and leadership. And we did this virtually this year. And again, I think it went just fine. But this is part of the way, and those are classes. So these trips are like getting your curriculum on the move. So there's some pre-work to do, and then you go on the trip, and then you come back and generally reflect or write or do some sort of project related to that. I'm a person who loves to be out of the classroom. When I was working in clinical practice, I often thought people should get out of the therapy office and move around and engage in order to make change happen. And so I sort of bring that with me into my teaching, and I think it's really effective. I think students learn a lot from those experiences. And then finally, we have every student in our program complete an integrative project, which is part of our research sequence, where the faculty and a small group of students work together to complete an agency evaluation project with a community agency, a real project, real data, real agency. It's not an assignment so much as a project that does service to an agency in our community, and where you learn about how to do the kind of research that social work practitioners do in agencies to evaluate the effectiveness of a program, or to look at the needs of a service agency in the community, to recommend improvement, to do literature review for grant writing, and so on. So a lot of sort of hands-on learning besides field placement. And so we also do interprofessional learning, MegaSim, simulations, demonstrations in the classroom. In the practice classes, we have you do demos like you're doing probably in your practice classes this year. So all of that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the admissions criteria. So pay attention. I'm talking about the regular MSW program first, and then I'm going to talk about the advanced standing MSW program, okay? So regular MSW, the options are 2 years or 3 years for this, okay? To do a regular MSW, you have to have a bachelor's degree from any discipline or a BSW degree more than 5 years old. And to get into the regular MSW program, you have to have a GPA of 3.0 or higher in the most recent 60 credits. We calculate that for you. If you can't calculate that, we're not looking at your GPA and your transcript. We're going to count back 60 credits and calculate your GPA from that, okay? If you don't have a GPA of 3.0 in your last 60 credits, you may petition us to waive this criteria and still be considered for admission in this program, okay? You have to complete the online application. We have to have all your undergraduate and any graduate work you've done, all those transcripts. If you have never gone anywhere but SVSU, or if you've already requested transcripts from other colleges sent to SVSU, we have them already. You don't have to request them again. So you don't have, if you're an SVSU student and that's where your transcripts are, you don't have to do anything with that. We already have those transcripts. There is a personal reflection or writing statement that you need to do. We give you 2 questions. You go away and write your responses, save it as a document, and upload it into the application. it's not timed like the undergraduate admissions process. Do you remember that? Right, so it's not timed. You get the questions, you get to go away and do your writing and bring it back and submit it, okay? And then we need 3 references from faculty, employers, or your field supervisor. And if you're an international student, you must submit your scores, your English scores. Okay, that's the regular MSW program. The advanced standing,
Lucy,
yes.
can I ask a question for clarification? So
yes,
when you say faculty can write those, that can be their BSW faculty, that can be
Yes.
other faculty at the university. What it can't be, and I'm sort of saying this selfishly, but also it might involve other faculty. It can't be anyone on the MSW faculty because obviously we're making those decisions and that's a conflict of interest. So I teach an undergrad elective and some of you have asked me, not any of you, but previous classes have asked me to write a letter and I told them I can't do it. I just wanted to clarify that.
the MSW faculty serve as the admissions committee in various roles on the admissions committee. And so we recuse ourselves from writing reference letters. But you can ask your BSW faculty, adjuncts, field supervisor, your employer, those kind of people to write your letters of reference. Thanks, Mark. I always forget to do that. Okay, for the advanced standing program, the admissions criteria are different slightly. You have to have a BSW in the past 5 years. What this means for you guys that are graduating is that you have to graduate in the winter semester in order to start the program in 2021. You can't be a spring or summer graduate. The program starts, like I said, literally 2 days after the end of the winter semester. So you have to have graduated in the winter semester in order for your coursework to count towards the graduate degree. You have to graduate before you start the graduate program, okay? You have to have a GPA of 3.25 or higher in the last 60 credits. There are no exceptions to that criterion. Okay, that one is a hard criteria. So you need to, and again, we'll calculate it for you. And I will contact you and say, you didn't make that. Do you want us to consider you for the regular program? So we can, if you're in doubt and you want to be in the advanced standing program, apply to the advanced standing program. If you make it, great. And if you don't, we'll give you an opportunity to apply in the regular MSW program. We want you, obviously you're going to submit your application before the end of the fall semester, but we will do the GPA calculation, including your fall grades, if that is in your favor. Does that make sense to you? I saw hardly any faces. So we'll, if we get your application completed early, we'll calculate it without your fall grades. And then if you don't make it, we'll recalculate once we get your fall grades to see if that helps you. Okay. We really do want you in the program. We're not setting these criteria up to keep you out, but just know that that's a hard rule. It has to be 3.25 or higher. You have to do the application. Transcripts, same deal. If you're already at SVSU, you don't have to apply to get your transcripts sent to us. This personal statement is there and I'll show you where the application materials are and you can look at that. You need 3 references again. At least 1 reference for the advanced standing program has to be from your field instructor, not your field liaison, your field instructor at the agency where you're doing a BSW placement. Okay, you can get all 3 of them from the agency if you want, but at least 1 of them has to be somebody involved with your undergraduate field placement. And then again, if you're an international student and you have a TOEFL or an IELTS score, you need to submit those. Okay, By the way, the handout that I don't have for you, that's what's on them, is that information about the admissions criteria on one side, and on the other side, the courses that you take and what semester you take them, okay? Our program is fully accredited. Oop, there's a typo, is fully accredited by the Council on Social Work Education. And what that means is accreditation is required for state licensure. So you have to graduate from a fully accredited program in order to get licensure at the state level to practice as a social worker. They tell us how to do a lot of things. They tell us what to do and how to do it. And so their MSW programs are largely standardized. Certain coursework must be completed. Competence in certain areas must be addressed. We have to evaluate the program to make sure that students who are leaving our program have met all of the criteria that are required by our accrediting body. And so there's just a lot of that kind of standardization that happens. Okay, so here's the part where we talk about how to apply to the program. And there is, so if you go to the SVSU website and type MSW in the search bar, it will take you to the page that takes you to this. So if you don't say social work MSW /application instructions, then you can simply go to MSW in the search bar and it will take you to a place where you can click on this. But I'm going to click on this and show you what the site looks like in just a second. You are going to need, this is I think the clunky part. Is Hannah on here? Somewhere, there you are. They still need to set up a username and password even though they're SVSU students.
Yes, if you are a transfer student and you created or applied since August 2019, then you will not need to create a new username. But if you haven't, then you will need to create a new username.
Okay. So it's possible that you're going to have to create a unique username and password to do this application. I think that's the hardest, frankly, the hardest part of this application. And if you can do that, you're going to be great. Username and password. You're going to do this written statement, which is a professional reflection. You're answering 2 questions. I would ask you, for Brianna's sake, because I think she's going to help us process these, please put your name only on the cover page of that, please, 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 because we review these and someone, I'm hoping it will be Brianna, is going to have to take your name off of all of them. So if you just put it on the cover page so we know that it's yours, but just on the cover page, then we'll just be able to take the cover page off of these and send them forward. So we have a group of faculty who review your written statement and score it, but it's a blind review. They don't know which students have submitted them. So it would be really great if you just put your name on the cover page. You're going to need a resume, and I just advise you to please include everything you're doing this year. So field placement, any other volunteer work that you're doing, that sort of thing. You're going to need transcripts and then the names and email addresses that you will put into the application for 3 employers, educators, or supervisors. And remember that if you're applying for the advanced standing program, at least one of those must be somebody who can talk about your BSW field work. And then your English language scores if that's required for you. It's a pretty simple process. I think it's actually easier than the BSW application in my mind, because there's not a lot of pressure. So I am going to click on this, or maybe I won't. Maybe it won't do this. Well, I'll go back and show you. Maybe it won't do it because it's in display mode. So I also, if you would like to take a picture, my phone number, that's my cell phone, so text me, or my email address. And I am a person you could ask questions about the program, or more general questions about admissions. Hannah is the one who understands how the system works, and she has access to, in the graduate office, to fix technical glitches and answer questions that I don't know anything about. So you should take a look at, there's Hannah's info and my info. And if I don't know how to do something, you're going to end up with Hannah anyway. So I would take a picture of that screen, and then I'm going to go out and see if I can do it from here. Aha, that worked. So when you go to the application site, the MSW site, so it says, Monday, the application gets open and there's a link to the application embedded on this button. And it reminds you that you have to have it, so you have to submit by the 28th of November, and then the 12th is when supplemental application materials are due. But what is currently here is the application requirements, instructions, dates and deadlines, and then information about issues. So you actually can click on the application instructions, and it will tell you all of this information that I just sort of covered, but if you really need to read the details, it's right here, okay? And the questions for the writing sample are on this website. You could get started over the weekend. Instead of doing something fun, you can pull up the professional reflection instructions and start writing your paper. Okay, so it's all on there. And I think it's the instructions are great. The grad office has done a really good job of telling you exactly what you need to do. And there is support for you to complete the application. All right. Anything I have missed, faculty or Bree? Before we take questions. Yes.
For your application, like when you create that new username, it's just for your application. So we'll pair your current SVSU profile with this new profile. So don't get hung up on creating a username that you feel like is going to like follow you forever. It's just for the application.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Anything else, folks, before we open up for questions? I'm hoping you have a few questions. And then I'm going to ask Bree to talk a little bit about the question of the day for her. She could start thinking about this is, what would you tell somebody who is thinking about applying to this program? What do you think they need to know about it? So are you ready to talk about that now, Bree, or do you want me to take some questions while you consider that?
You can go ahead and take questions.
Okay. All right. So I'm very comfortable with you unmuting and just asking a question. There aren't that many of us on this site. So who's got a question for us?
I do. My question was, and I don't know if this is something you can answer, if I need to seek like financial aid help, but like since we're starting at the advanced standing in May, do we need to complete like FAFSA soon for that year, or how do we work with that?
Thank you. That's such a good question. I always avoid money questions because I always think I'm going to tell somebody something wrong. So here your current, so the FAFSA for 2021, the one that you're currently using for your undergraduate program. Financial aid can help you do a supplement to that. They start a new grant or a new thing with FAFSA for grad school. And it covers the spring and summer for advanced standing students. To be clear, and I think this is really important, we have the least expensive MSW program in the state.
Actually, it's the least expensive public MSW program.
Oh, sorry, public. Oh, I don't even want to know. There's a private one that's cheaper? Oh. Okay. We need to get some rich friends to give lots of sponsorships and scholarships to people. Thank you, Denise, for keeping me honest. But here's what you need to know about grad school. You don't get any grants for grad school. So students finance this with loans and private scholarships, which I think are totally underutilized. So SVSU has that scholarship application system, and there are private scholarships available. None of them are very big, but it adds up. So I would encourage you to consider applying for those private scholarships that are available. But you have to borrow money for in a loan, which you have to pay back for grad school. But yes, your current FAFSA, you say, I've gotten into this program and now I need to apply for loan money for the spring and summer if you're going into the advanced standing program, or for the summer if you're going into the regular program. Same FAFSA, but you still have to apply, you still have to do a FAFSA for next year, which you can start doing right now, right? So we encourage you guys to do that. Thanks, that was actually a great kickoff question, Ashley. Thank you. Who
When I
else?
was a student, I actually did financial aid for the year. So you would have to change your questions for your current FAFSA. You would just have to change a couple questions for the spring and summer semester, because they are for this academic year, and then fill out a new one for the fall and winter. And I got all loans from that FAFSA, which helped for the whole school year, actually.
Josie's asking in a chat, am I reading it right? I don't have my glasses on. Josie's saying, is there a handout somewhere that breaks down how the classes are scheduled each semester? And the answer to that is yes, they're my invisible paper handouts. I'm going to have, Hannah is collecting your email addresses, and we're going to email you those documents. They're 2 PDFs, one for the regular MSW. Actually, I can, and one for the advanced standing. Hold on one second and let me see. A second. I'm trying to look at that. Can you see this on this handout now on my screen share? Okay, so this is the advanced standing 1-year course plan. So you see spring, summer, fall, and winter, boom, you're done. It looks so easy, doesn't it? When you look at it that way. Core classes are all on Friday, and in addition to the courses that are listed here, every student has to take 6 credits of electives. We offer electives generally in 2-credit courses. So 3 2-credit courses equals 6 credits of electives. So that's the 1-year layout. And as you can see, you do a spring semester, which is kind of a bridge. And then in the summer, you start field and take a bunch of classes, and you do the same field placement in fall and winter along with the classes that are co-requisite for field. And it's very quick and very intense. And yeah, okay. And then there's a 2-year option. And I promise you that we're sending this to you so that you can take a closer look at it. And this is the 2-year option. In the 2-year option, students they simply take fewer classes until they get to the end. So they do spring, summer, fall, and winter, and there's no field placement. They do their field placement in the 2nd year. So in the summer of the 2nd year, they start field placement and do field and practice classes, summer, fall, and winter. They do all of the other classes ahead of time. So it takes longer, but the classes are spread out over 2 years, same classes. That was a good, okay. No Pell Grant, that's right. No Pell Grant for undergrads. The link is not active, probably because the application's not open, Hannah. The link for the, hold on. For the professional reflection. Yep, no, it's not. I think it's probably dead because of the, I'm sorry. I told you you could do it and it's not true.
I have a question about the electives. Is there a place that what's being offered as an elective is posted already? Or
You absolutely can look on the Cardinal Direct registration system to see what's being offered this year.
it could remain similar?
And they would be either the same classes or similar classes. All of our elective courses are numbered Social Work 690. So if you click on Social Work 690, it opens up all the different electives that are being offered, and you should be able to tell from the titles what kinds of things are offered. So this semester we have, gosh, I can't remember what semester is what. We have case management course this semester, Denise. And no, that's in the
Case
winter.
management's in the winter, and psychopharmacology and behavior management with children is this fall.
Substance abuse.
yeah. We have
Substance abuse.
advanced practice with children and advanced practice with couples and families. Mark is doing a really cool elective that uses a kind of a community engaged research thing.
That'll be next semester, but this semester I'm teaching substance abuse treatment.
This program did not go virtually, it's still in person. Correct? Sort of.
I wish I could tell you what next year will bring. The MSW is completely online currently.
Okay.
We did not, as a faculty, we elected to be synchronous online. So we have class meetings like this.
Similar to what the BSW did then.
Yeah. So, well, I guess some of the BSW classes you have to go into campus and do face-to-face. Maybe not the senior classes, but I actually think it's going really well. I'm not a big online fan, and I'm a convert at this point. It's been actually great. We have scheduled spring and summer to be online. That's based on our best understanding of the availability of vaccine and that sort of thing. Please remember that all of our students are working in field placement. Many of them are exposed on a regular basis to people who might have COVID. And so if we had to excuse everybody who was in quarantine from face-to-face classes, we would not have very many people in our classes. Many of them already, and it's October, have exposure issues that would prevent them from coming to face-to-face. So I'm kind of glad we made that decision. It seems to be going well. It is our intent to return to the kind of intensive face-to-face, in-your-face, small group, let's go to Chicago kind of program. But I don't have any idea. Currently, our neighbors to the west are experiencing a second wave in Wisconsin that is just like unexpected, and so we're being very, very cautious about it. But the intent is for our program to be face-to-face. We do have some courses that are hybrid. That's how we fit everything into a single Friday. So if you have a course schedule that includes 4 classes, the only way that it can be face-to-face is if 1 week you're taking this class and the next week you take the other one, where you wouldn't be able to get all of it into Friday unless you stay till midnight. So some of our
It's real confusing when you see 2 classes that you have to take and they meet at the same time. But one is live 1 week and the other's online. then that one's live and the first one's online. So you actually can do two things at once without a time turner.
Yeah. And I think Mark you've done a completely online elective in the
I
past.
was in his class, so
Oh, yeah, okay. And then the psychopharmacology class is completely online right now. But in general, I think we're much more about the being with you kind of.
And I will also say that we are really focused on making it as similar to a live experience as we can, meaning that Fridays will be times that we will be synchronous, that we will be hosting live classes as opposed to you just sort of doing assignments and turning them in. So in that way, it is going to feel very similar to a face-to-face experience.
Somebody has asked a question about housing. We do have, Jay, we have MSW students currently that are living in on-campus housing, so that must be an option for graduate students.
We take the electives on top of the normal course schedule that you showed the picture of? Okay.
I didn't hear anything you said, so somebody nodded. Somebody understood you. I'm sorry. Do you want to repeat it so I know what you asked?
Yes, do we take the electives on top of the schedule that you showed?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So electives happen on Saturdays or weeknights, so they don't interfere with the all-day Friday thing.
Okay.
But students take them whenever they can work them into their life.
Okay.
What time on Saturdays do they usually happen at?
It depends.
It depends.
So some faculty schedule electives all day, 8:30 to 3:30 or 4, a couple of Saturdays during the semester. Sometimes they're a half day and there'll be 5 meetings during the semester. Some of the electives are offered like on Thursday night from 7 to 9 every week during the semester. It depends. And they're all different.
For the Saturday classes, we try to group them into a few meetings, not every Saturday all semester. So it might be possible to take a half-day class in the morning and a different class in the afternoon, or an all-day Saturday class for 3 Saturdays, and then another 3 Saturdays take a different class.
This might be a little too early for this tip, but I highly recommend taking your electives in the spring and summer than the fall and winter, because fall and winter are kind of, you have more stuff going on, there's more work, you're doing your group work with your cohort, things like that, where the summer and spring semester are more, it's a little quieter during the spring and summer semester.
You know why we do that, Brianna?
No.
They quit the first semester. So it is true. It's a little less challenging in the spring and summer semesters. And many students don't think, even though we sort of encourage you to do that, they don't think that they think, oh, it's fine. It's going to be fine in the fall to take their electives. And then if you have to take 3 classes, it means you have to take 2 in the fall and 1 in the winter, or 1 in the winter and 2, 1 in the fall and 2 in the winter. It's a lot. That's what I mean. The work is substantial. So I actually think that's a really great suggestion. Do you want, Brianna, would you like to talk a little bit about what you would tell somebody who's thinking about our program?
Yeah. I did 2 things. I wrote on 2 things. The first one was don't be afraid. This may seem like a lot of information that Lucy has talked about with your classwork, with field work, and things like that. It might seem like a lot, but the professors are very supportive. You do have a cohort that's going to be there with you every step of the way. Currently, I still talk to a lot of people within my cohort because we got so close, because we all had the same feelings. We all had the same, we all cried together. We all, it's one of those things that you really don't think about when you go into this program. I applied to this program on a whim. I honestly didn't think I didn't think I wanted to get my MSW. I was just gonna get my BSW and get a job and not worry about it. But my friend told me to do it and see what happens. And once I got accepted, I actually felt relieved. And I thought that, okay, this might be what I need to do. So we walked across the stage. The next week we went to Chicago. And at the beginning, I was a little scared. I was a little afraid. But the more that you work towards it and the more that you begin to understand yourself as a professional, you begin to not be afraid of what's heading towards you within this program. So don't be afraid, and do what works for you, because a lot of people, they go into the advanced placement or the advanced standing program and they realize they have other obligations. They might have kids, they might have family members that might be sick, especially with COVID going on. It's a very stressful time. So do what works for you. If you have a large workload outside of doing field, outside of doing classes and things like that, I highly recommend doing the 2-year advanced standing. I'm a rare breed, so I had 2 part-time jobs. I had my field placement, I had classes, I had family members I had to take care of, and things like that. So, while doing the advanced standing program, and I was able to learn how to become more organized. I learned how to use a planner every once in a while. My planner became my best friend. And while there are a couple people that might struggle a little bit more, but they were able to talk to Lucy or talk to faculty and say, I don't know if this program's right for me, what should I do? And that's the best thing that you can do, is be honest about what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot handle. And I know a couple people that were able to go down to part-time and be able to work and go to school and be with family and things like that while continuing to finish their education. So if full-time's not right for you, do part-time. If you still need that little bit of help, do the regular standing. So do what works for you. You do have time to talk to family. You do have time to just make that decision on what you want to do. So make that decision before March comes, because it's October and COVID started in March, and it's already been, what is it, like 5 years already, it feels like.
Yeah.
But that's all really those big 2 tips that I learned from what a lot of people that in my cohort went through and what I would like to say. So yeah.
Thank you. That's actually really, I wondered what you would say. And I think it's interesting. I really want to echo that for some people, the advanced standing program is not what they want or need.
Mm-hmm.
Advanced standing program will propel you like with the jetpack strapped to your back from an undergraduate into a professional with the expectations of professional practice and professional level skills in months. And that is exciting and it's wonderful. And it's also very, very challenging.
Yeah.
Some students leave their BSW and they're academically fine, but maybe they feel like they need a little more time to develop their skills or become ready for the professional world. And we have a pretty fair number of students in the regular MSW program who have BSWs who could have done the advanced standing program and decided that they weren't going to, or their GPAs were just right on the edge there and they ended up in the MSW program. And that's absolutely fine. In fact, I believe that Dr. Dedman did that and did a regular, you did a regular MSW, right? Even
Yeah,
though
when I graduated with my BSW, I was 21, and I thought, wow, I am really, really young. I wanted to go into clinical social work, and I thought, who will be my client? And they will all be older, and this is going to be weird. So I did the 2-year program instead of a 1-year program, and I was really glad that I did the regular program instead of the advanced.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, those are always options. If you aren't sure, you should maybe think about talking to your a faculty advisor who can help you talk you through some of this stuff. So that's always available. The MSW faculty can contact me and I'll hook you up. And they can sit down and sit down and Zoom with you or do phone calls and talk about that stuff. So a good question is, how do you say your name, dear? Who's D-E-N? Somebody tell me how to say her name. Is it Dinesh? Say it again.
Dinesh.
Danae. Okay, I love your name. You ask a lot of good questions. Can you start the 1-year program and then change to the 2-year program? The answer is lots of things are possible. The problem is that if you start in the 1-year program and then say, okay, I'm going to step out and go to the 2-year program, then it is possible that you may have to step out for a whole semester, like not take classes to get back into track to take the courses that you need to take. Remember, if you do the 1-year program, you're starting field placement right away. It would mean that you would have to drop out of field placement, drop your field class, and then wait for the next class in the 2-year sequence to come up, and it might not be that semester. So yes, it's possible. Yes, we would assist you in moving from one option to the next, but it might not be as smooth as it would be if we didn't have that sort of cohort style thing with field placement. So it's always an option. We always want you to talk to us about it. And I have moved people from fast to slow several times. And sometimes I've advised them to wait a semester to move because if they didn't, they were going to end up having to step out completely and rejoin like a year later because of the way the courses are scheduled. Okay, but yes, that's possible. It's much more difficult to go from part-time or slow to fast because you guys know how much time it takes to get into field placement. So we do admissions decisions in February, the end of February, and in March, the advanced standing cohort begins the field placement process, right? So literally a week later, all of those students get the roundup letter and agency field placement day happens and interviews start for the field placement for the MSW program. Even before you graduate from the BSW program, we're getting you set up for the MSW program. So it's really hard to go from part-time to full-time or from slow to fast because of the time it takes to get into field placement. But yes, you can't switch on your own. You have to talk to me about it so that I can advise you about making sure that you're in the right classes. Okay. Jordan, are we required to do our internships over winter break and spring break, or do we get that time to rest? There is no rest, Jordan. So you've probably heard this. We encourage students to consider their professional obligations to their clients. Obviously, it's a professional ethical obligation to their clients. and to consider that everybody needs a break. So some people choose to do some hours over winter break and take some time off. Some people have agencies that don't provide services over winter break, and they arrange that with their field placement agencies. It depends on your agency. I think it's a great question. And I actually don't know. It depends on where you're placed, right? But if you have a client caseload and they're in crisis and you can take 5 weeks off, generally speaking. And sometimes our winter break is 5 weeks long. So it depends. But your question made me laugh. Do we get to rest? Brooklyn says, so if we graduate in May, do we start 2 days after we graduate? Yes. If you're in the advanced standing program, yes.
Okay. I was just confused on that. I thought you said we couldn't do it, and I was like, what? But okay, so yes, okay.
Okay, let me say it again. So some people finish their BSW degree. You've completed all the requirements for that major, and you have, like, you're not supposed to do this, but you have another class for your minor to take, and you're going to take it in the spring. And that means that you don't graduate until after that spring class is over. You're not eligible for the MSW program that starts in spring. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Graduate, not just finish the BSW program, but actually graduate in the winter semester. And if you do that, then you can start the advanced standing program in the spring. If you have some credits to finish or a minor to complete or something else or a second major, then you can't start the advanced standing program in the spring because you haven't graduated.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for clarifying that. Jordan, are we allowed to roll over hours for winter break to our winter semester if we choose to? That is a very technical question, Jordan. Jordan, do you have plans for next winter break that you want to do something fun? So the question is, can you roll over hours? Generally speaking, the policy in the MSW program is that you can roll over 30 hours. Is that right, Bree? Once you finish in the fall or any semester to the next semester, you can accumulate up to 30 hours, and those count towards the next semester's field placement. That's the general policy. Are you doing something fun, Jordan, in the winter?
Yeah, I usually use winter break and spring break to go visit my grandparents in Florida.
Okay. So when you're interviewing for field placements, you might want to mention that, you know, you have family obligations during that time, and don't say that you're visiting, say that you have to do something really hard, and just make sure that you have a little bit of time off for that. But yeah, okay. Jamie says the advanced standing start date is May 10th. We graduate May 7th. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I didn't look it up, Jamie, but that may be right. It's like right away. We're all exhausted, and we start this program and go to Chicago the next.
We get a weekend to relax and then start Monday.
Yeah. And I don't even want to know what the BSW students are doing over the weekend because they all look pretty haggard when they start the program.
So classes officially start that Monday for spring semester. Since we meet on Fridays for the core classes, then your first being in class would be Friday, but you will have material to read and prepare for the first class every semester as a graduate student. So you will download the syllabus Monday at midnight and start working on it so you have your first things ready by Friday. Or if we physically go to Chicago, we'll get on the train Wednesday morning. And let's see, you actually have the virtual immersion experience Wednesday morning at 8. Yeah. So you graduate on Friday and start class Wednesday morning at 8, and you need to read materials for that class before Wednesday.
Yeah. A couple of people are getting off. They were getting close to the end of our time. Does anybody else have another question
Question about the
Professional reflection, APA style, it says it in the instructions when you can get to it.
And we are now using APA 7th edition. So no more running heads, yay!
Yeah, that is good. I hate running heads. Yeah, APA, it says there's instructions that ask you to follow that format.
Any resume that we need, do you want that of just our like our internship and our like field placement, or do you want like that like our professional career resume?
Yep. I want to know everything about you.
All of the above.
Yeah, one of the things we do in selecting our admissions, the students we're going to admit, is we look at the whole student. Is this student someone that has background that supports their application? Have they engaged in leadership activities, or do they have work experience that's going to help them in the program? Have they demonstrated interest in people or have experience with people who are different from themselves? And so we are interested in looking at the whole person as part of the application process. And most graduate schools do more than just look at your GPA and say, oh, let you in. They're really looking to develop a class of students as a cohort that will learn together. So we're trying as best we can to select students that are going to be successful, that show initiative and engagement and, you know, that sort of thing. So yes, the whole thing, everything you can think of that makes you look good.
For our BSW placement, our resume, they recommended it only be 1 page. You would rather see everything.
I have to read them, so I'm okay. It's going to be a document that I can scroll through. I'm okay with it being longer than a single page, but I would like you to, I would like everyone to try to keep it succinct and hit the highlights. So I don't need to know all the details of your, the job that you had in high school. I want to know that you had a high school job in fast food, because I think actually fast food prepares you very well to be a social worker. But I don't need to know that you sold chicken sandwiches and hot dogs, just that you know, that you were a server or that you worked on a, you know, counter in a fast food place. That's fine. So think about, I always think about telling me who you are as a person, and it might take more than 1 page. Depends on your experiences. And the personal reflection gives us you an opportunity to. Say it again, Danae.
As a non-traditional student, I have quite a work history, so this test really had to cut it down. So I just didn't know if I should keep it up or working back in.
So do the middle. Don't make it the longest long one. Don't make it look like Dr. Dedman or Dr. Giesler's resumes. They're 25 pages long. So don't make it that long. But don't sell yourself short by making it just a single page if you have a extensive history.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering about how large the average cohort is and kind of maybe like the ratio of like SVSU, BSW students compared to, and then like all the other schools as well, since we really want like a mixture of people in there.
So our commitment to the university is to try to have a cohort of 40 advanced standing students each year and 20 regular students each year. We have admitted more than that every year. And advanced standing students currently is 80% BSW graduates, although not always just the most recent graduates. So that might be graduates from the last 5 years. The other 20% come from other BSW programs. So we mostly serve our BSW students in the advanced standing program. The regular program is students from everywhere. Many of them who've been in practice for a number of years. Some BSWs who either didn't have the GPA or elected to do the regular program. Some students from like creative writing and communications and sociology and psych. So that group is more diverse. But to be clear, while we're committed to providing the MSW program as an opportunity for our current BSW students, we don't just automatically accept every BSW student who applies. We are looking at a number of things: writing skills, GPA and academic record, references, your resume that as so far as it reflects your life experience and so on. So, and we, of course, we want our students to have varied experiences because we're learning from each other in this intensive learning experience. You know, the classroom experience, we want there to be a diversity of students in there, just as there's a diversity of faculty.
You have an approximation of about how many applications you receive each year?
Oh, I'm so bad with numbers. Let's see. Last year, we probably had we might have had 95 applications, ish. And some people don't really, I don't really know why they do it, but like some people turned us down. We offered them a spot and they said, oh no, I don't really want to do it. Okay, seems like a lot of work for something you don't really want to do. But you know, so some of them weren't really going to come anyway. And we might be somebody's second choice too, right? You know, like we're the backup school and they really want to get into some other MSW program. And you should think about that. Are we your second choice, or do you, you know, and what can I tell you to make us your first choice?
I'm wondering if you were trying to calculate the ratio of accepted to applied and figure out what our acceptance rate is. And our acceptance rate is 85, 87%.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with
Yeah,
that
so to
question.
save you doing the math, then yeah.
Yeah, and we mean it that our criteria are not to try to keep people out. So one of the things is that some students are denied admission and it's because they don't meet our admissions criteria. They didn't turn something in. They didn't pass the writing sample. It's probably the most common thing. They turned one in, but it wasn't correct. It wasn't completed correctly, or they really needed to do some work on their writing, and they're invited to reapply once that's happened. That kind of thing. So, and then we also admit people who don't end up coming to the program as well. What else? Anybody else have questions? We're about there, so.
Well, there's no cap. Like you don't have a magic number that's capped off. You can only have, 40 students. That's just your minimum. You would accept more if more apply.
We do every year. Some of those students end up being part-time students, and or slow, what we call the slow students, not because they're slow, but until we slot those 2 or 3 year students in as overload into the classes. This year we had 2 cohorts of regular MSW students because we had so many regular applications. And so we expanded the program, and we're seeing if that was a anomaly, or if that's going to be an ongoing trend and we need to expand the program for the regular students. So no idea what's going to happen this year because of COVID. It's really unpredictable. So
Isn't it though? One thing about the regular and advanced students is that you start off as an advanced cohort in the spring, and you meet up with the second year regular students in September. And so it's not just that you would go to classes with everybody that you've already seen as juniors and seniors at SVSU. Those people will be there, but you will have this influx of people who were in the first year program last year, and now they're in the second year of the program this year.
Yeah. Okay, what else before we end? I need to go eat dinner. Okay, so I'm encouraging you to look on Monday at the application. If you have questions, Hannah will be available. You've got her contact info. If you have, oh, I guess I can stop my share here, sorry.
And in the chat, you saw the application fee code for
Thank you.
waiving the application fee.
If you didn't see that, take a look. There's a code for waiving the application fee in the chat. GRMSW.
APP.
Grim swap.
Anything else? Anybody else want to say anything before we go? Hannah, is there anything else you feel like we need to cover?
I'll check out why that form is not showing up, but otherwise, we'll make sure that we get those handouts to you. If you haven't completed that little form, please do so. I messaged everyone that I didn't have the form from, and that way we can get all we can include the waiver code in there too. So it's a little incentive, I guess. Give us just your first name, last name, email, and phone number. And if you have any questions, though, feel free. Texting is fairly quick, or emailing us.